So let us begin the great summary of the CNN Republican debate, okay? First of all, Donald Trump versus the world. Jake Tapper's every other question was, Senator Rubio, what do you think about what Donald Trump says about you? Senator Cruz, what do you think about what Donald Trump says about her? Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. When we went to Donald Trump, did we get any elucidation of what his policies would be? Of course not. We got, look, my policies will be fantastic, okay? They'll be as good as policies as you'll ever see. He even said near the end there, we will have, the country will be very special, and we'll have more of everything.
Except Mexicans.
Quote, no, more of everything.
More of everything.
That's his policy, more of everything.
It speaks to the Republican base and how stupid they are.
Damn.
That's all it takes to get their attention, to get their vote. He's leading in the polls. It's incredible. I mean, he wasn't specific about much. There were a few things he said that I think were decent, right? Like the flat tax thing, he's against it. He seems to be in favor of Social Security, right? Like little things like that. But overall, like the vaccine thing is so dangerous. I hate the fact that he's an anti-vaccine person, and people are going to watch that and they're going to think, oh my God, my kid might get autism if I vaccinate them, so I'm not going to vaccinate them.
Even
it's dangerous.
Even the legendary Dr. Ben Carson agreed with Trump. You shouldn't get too many, right? He said there's scientific evidence that there's no link, but hey, watch out, don't get too many. So Trump's, why did you say that? Why did you bow your head to this maniac?
He's a wussy. He's a big old wuss. I do disagree, though. I think that to the extent that this was Trump against the world, it was 50% as much Trump against the world as the last debate. And for that reason, this debate was twice as good as the last debate. We had way more specifics, as horrendous as they were, from a number of different candidates. We had a lot of back and forth between a person and another non-Trump person for significant periods of time. After the first 20 minutes, we had a lot of periods of time where Trump did not speak. I don't know what he was thinking about. Perhaps he was imagining what Ivana was going to look like later in the night. But I think we got a lot of information about the different candidates in a way that we didn't last time. I think this was a way better debate, and there was way less Trump in it.
I think the only reason why I think you're wrong. And the reason why I say that is because the only reason why we might have gotten a little more information about the candidates is because this debate was approximately 28 hours long.
Yeah, that's fine, but there was less Trump.
There was less Trump.
No, I don't think so. I really didn't see it that way.
100% less Trump.
There was less Trump in the second half. In the first half, remember the very first question that Tapper asked was, what do you think about what Trump had to say about this?
Yeah, for 15 solid minutes.
I mean, no, it went on longer.
John, I took notes on all the candidates. I didn't have a single note on Christie until his closing speech when he said, you know, people we disagree with, I won't shake their hand, I won't do anything, I won't meet with them, I won't agree with them on anything. What if they say, okay, fine, you take our nukes? No, because I won't agree with them on anything, right? But that's the first note I took on Chris Christie. And I've got a lot of notes, you know, 4 or 5 on Huckabee, et cetera.
We're going to know
on
tomorrow.
Trump, I have 20.
Well, I think you were far more interested in Trump
no,
tomorrow. By
because
the way,
he kept talking about Trump and Trump's fight with this and Trump's fight with that.
We can debate right now this, but tomorrow we're going to know. They're going to break down how many minutes every candidate spoke, and we're going to see the percentage, and we're going to know it from the last one, and we can compare. And I will try to remember to do that tomorrow. I bet there was less Trump by percentage and by total vote.
I appreciate Johnny trying to make this interesting. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate taking a bullet saying something so stupid. Anyway.
God, wait, is Trump at this debate?
Yeah. Now, John, if you're...
Now, tell me about my hair.
John, if you're a Republican, you say, well, largely I agree with Jimmy.
Yeah. He's right, I'm stupid. He's a smart man.
So look, now when we got to... When we got to the so-called substantive answers that they were going to have, when the moments that John is talking about where we find out more about the Republicans, well, it was, I mean, largely, they're not going to mess with us. I'm going to show them. I've got a button right here that says wipe out ISIS. I press it and they're gone, right? Yeah. And then I'm going to make America great. I'm going to cut taxes and magically the economy will grow. What was the specifics? It was all like tough guy, but it scared the hell out of me because they're grade A demagogues. I mean, I believe that some of those people will definitely rip up that agreement with Iran and immediately go to war, okay? So if you like war, if you like the Iraq war, wait till you get a load of the war with Iran that these guys, half these guys, will definitely start, definitely. The only people who talked about any specifics in my mind were Fiorina, who, yes, she had a long list and she had it ready when she talked about the military. I'm going to do 150 ships. I'm going to do 350 this. And I got the nuclear triad. Okay. I mean, I know that she did that to seem like a tough guy. I'm a woman, so I have to show you how many things I know about the military. But it's well played, right? And she seems strong, and I thought she did a good job. Although, of course, I don't agree with anything she says. But she did a good job of presenting herself as strong. And outside of that, the only other specifics was, you know, ironically, Trump saying that he'll raise the tax rates on the hedge fund guys, right? So that was.
I don't trust him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he's going to do it, but at least it's populist, it works, and it was a little bit of a specific. Was there any specifics outside of that?
Rand Paul was specific about.
You're right.
Whenever he had some opportunities to speak, he was specific, and he made a lot of sense. But unfortunately, with the Republican Party, that doesn't get you anywhere. So he was, shut out quite a bit.
No, you're right, because he talked about
Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, no, and talked about how the war on drugs is wrong, what he would do about it, the states' rights issue, why the foreign policy was wrong, that he wouldn't go to war with Iran, that's not his first choice, unlike the other candidates. So you're right. Rand Paul was specific. He'll pay the price for that, by the way.
Yeah, he will pay the price. He also made a lot of sense about, the chemical weapons and Assad and how it was actually a good thing that Obama didn't go ahead and go after Assad and basically take him out of power. Because if you do that, then ISIS becomes more powerful. No one ever talks about that, right? So
not even Hugh Hewitt. Hugh Hewitt didn't even bring it up. You know what? I have to agree with Trump. Hugh Hewitt, third-rate fucking broadcaster. The fact that he let Donald Trump shit on him for a week and then came back with nothing.
He knows French.
Absolutely nothing. He does know a little French. Absolutely nothing. But the thing I took away from this debate was that Bernie Sanders could kick any of their asses without any trouble. They're trying to be populists. By the way, all their ideas are bad. It's like people don't like their ideas, right? I said this about Scott Walker when he announced, like every goddamn people like Planned Parenthood, people like Social Security, people like Medicare. These things that people are on board with Obamacare. So what I'm saying is this is a gift to Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. This solidifies the fact that we will have for sure another Democratic president.
It does seem like he would kick their ass. He's far smarter. I mean, obviously, from this debate, we know that being smart isn't enough. But we know that Mike Huckabee is going to have some sort of religious test for Supreme Court justices. We know that Marco Rubio is going to do absolutely nothing to control the release of carbon into the atmosphere. And the rest of the candidates seem to agree that they're not going to lead in terms of what America will do, and they're not even interested in thinking about leading in terms of internationally putting together some sort of coalition, because they're implicitly implying that if every country worked together, we could solve the problem, but they are so weak. They're up front. They're not even president yet. They're not even going to try to get other countries to go along with us, and we know that. We know that in addition to a potential war with Iran that all but one or two of the candidates would go into, we're probably going to recommit a significant number of troops, either 3,000 or 10,000, to Iraq. We're going to move into Syria in a more significant way. I mean, there's a number of different things like that we do know now. They're all horrific, but we know them.
Everything they're saying is unpopular with the general public.
I agree.
And the only thing, like Trump said a few things that are popular, which the Republican elites hate, which is that we should tax rich people.
Yeah.
He said that. They're like, what the fuck are you saying? Well, that's even popular with Republican electorate.
Yeah.
So the things that the nominee will be saying when they're in the debate with the Democrat is going to be unpopular. Again, they're in this bubble. They're in that Mitt Romney bubble. They don't realize that their ideas are unpopular. Yeah. And I think, by the way, immigration, they're all still screwed on it. Nobody has anything good to say about immigration.
No one has a real answer to that.
They're all still behind the 8 ball on that one. So this is still guaranteeing that they're going to lose the election unless they change dramatically.
I don't think that we're giving Trump enough credit for his display of foreign policy knowledge here. Like, we now know specifics for Russia, he'd get along with them. Syria, get along with them. Other people in Syria, get along with them. Get along with everybody. Get along.
Get along.
He'd be really tough on them, but he'd get along great with them.
Probably.
You go from mess to get along, and then you're respected.
Yeah,
maybe. And then you get the money in the hose, too.
Yeah, me and Putin, we're both a couple of fucking maniacs. We'll take our shirts off and ride around on bears. That's how Trump.
That's a specific. And John Kasich, to be fair, also had specifics. Look, if I was him, and I know he repeats it a decent amount, but I'd almost repeat it every single time. I balanced the budget when I was in the federal government. That's a huge stretch, but he can get to save through some
he was
defense,
one of several
right?
hundred.
Right. I went from a huge deficit to a significant surplus in Ohio. I created jobs and I cut taxes. So now a lot of that does not withstand scrutiny. Some of it does, by the way, right? And so I'd be like, these guys, they're blah, 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 blah. I'm the only one with the results, right?
Yeah.
So those are specifics, and that's an arguable case to make, and that's why he's been rising a little bit in the polls, because he's the only one that doesn't seem like a lunatic. Because now even Jeb Bush says, yeah, sure, I agree with all these guys on all these things. He's backtracked on everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he defends his wife on the fact that she's Mexican and says he loves her, but when it comes to climate change, immigration, et cetera, he keeps going around saying, oh, no, don't get me wrong, I agree, and oh, and new invasions of countries, I agree, right? So the only sane person left is Kasich. You got a little bit of the specifics of that, so I'll give him that. And then finally, the specific we got from Cruz is how far up Trump's ass he is.
Yeah.
And that is fairly far, right? When he said, oh, we weren't talking about immigration until Donald Trump brought it up. Oh, that's so, for a guy pretending to be strong. Well, how pathetic. Dude, you've been talking about immigration for all this time.
Yeah.
For years and years and years. For you to bow your head and offer up like your subservience to Donald Trump in that way.
Yeah.
It's honestly one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen. So all these guys who pretend to be strong, and that's their whole thing, and they beat their chest, in fact, they're giant wusses, right? And they're all bowing down to this Trump guy.
Marco Rubio really tried to be strong there. You could see it. He'd get fired up and energetic every time. He still came off as like a college debate, like a college Republican debater or something. But he was trying. He was trying to be more energetic and engaged. I just don't think he has it in him. He doesn't have the gravitas. He doesn't have the charm or whatever.
I would say Ted Cruz was Donald Trump's nut valet today.
I didn't know that existed.
And of course, it's in a song by a rapper I knew anyway. And they did not, like I predicted, did not call out Trump for his bullshit speech being sponsored by a veterans organization. That was a fake veterans organization. It was just one fucking guy. And then they took all the money they raised and it's going to go to the vets. No, it's going to that guy. So they probably raised, they sell 1,000 tickets at $1,000 to go see him talk for 12 minutes. And they're going to take that, whatever. How much money is that? $100,000? I don't know.
No, that's $1 million.
That's $1 million? I'm not a math surgeon. And then they take that money and they give it to this guy, changes his whole life and his whole organization. Now he has an organization. And he'll probably, anyway, so they didn't call him out for that he paid people to applaud for him when he now. They don't call out any of this bullshit. They don't go, hey, all this shit again, like we've said, they didn't. So I think the big loser in this debate turns out to be CNN once again.
Absolutely.
CNN once again. But you know what? There is no bar. The bar is lower than it's ever been. MSNBC, Joe Scarborough during the debate was tweeting that they're spending too much time talking to Donald Trump. From MSNBC, what are you pissed off that they had to stop their live stream of Donald Trump that covered his fucking debate?
On Rachel Maddow's show.
On Rachel Maddow they broke in for live. They covered him from fucking pillar to post. And so that's the big loser from the Republican debate has got to be journalism.